How many of you have experienced a situation where you have tried to change something in your life and you think you've made, tremendous strides in fixing that thing that you want to fix in your life, only to realize that you're still doing the very thing that you've been wanting to change for years? Well, recently I just had this epiphany and I realized that I've been complaining about the same thing in my life, and thinking that I have changed it, but I actually haven't changed it. The change was actually more or less a disguise. And, I guess I could also say that I was, in my mind making up a different story, and convincing myself that I was making this big change in my life when in fact nothing had changed, no situation had changed. I just kind of convinced myself that it had changed. So in our lives, the purpose of our lives really is expansion and growth. And I'm sure you've heard the saying that if you're not expanding and growing, you're dying. So but it's hard. It's hard to expand and grow, because sometimes expansion and growth means doing things that are outside of our norm, outside of the status quo. Sometimes it means that we have to make some decisions for ourselves and leave the place where we live, or change friends, leave our jobs, leave our relationships, whatever that happens to be. But, how do you expand and grow and find fulfillment and satisfaction in your life if we're not willing to make the changes that we need to in our lives to do and have the very things that you want? So I'll just share a little story about something that I had to do many years ago. And years ago, I was in a relationship with somebody for really all intents and purposes was a really good guy at heart, and he still is to this very day. But I was so deeply unhappy in my marriage, and I couldn't see a way out. And just because of different circumstances with him, different circumstances with me, I just couldn't get them to get better. And I didn't know then what I know now about relationships, but it didn't matter. At the end of the day, I was really unhappy. And at that time, my kids were really young, and I had made the decision to leave the relationship. And it was really hard on me. And I really struggled with that decision, because, although I didn't want to take the kids away from their dad, I couldn't see myself staying in that relationship. And I stepped way out into this unknown, and so much into an unknown that I had to go on welfare to make ends meet. And so started a new chapter in my life. And what that lesson taught me, or what that whole experience taught me, really was that, if we keep doing the same things over and over again, and we expect different results. I mean, it's corny to cliche, it's like doing something over and over again and expecting different results. And we all understand the concept of it, but putting actual actions to that is something completely different. Somebody once told me, once you know better, you do better. And, I just don't believe that to be fully true, because we are so ingrained in our stories, and we're so ingrained in the experiences of our past, which create our stories. We're so comfortable living in the status quo, yet over there we are seeing things that we want, and we're marching along and doing our thing, and wanting something different for our lives. And yet it just never happens because we're just dragging those old stories with us from our past, all of our past experiences, and we're expecting something different to happen in our lives. And, sometimes making change really takes just a lot of bravery and courage to change, and we're constantly changing. We constantly have to make new decisions about what we want to create in our lives. And, complaining about, how complaining about our jobs and complaining how our life is not fulfilling, complaining that, we don't have the friends we want, or looking at somebody else's situation and going like, why can't I have that? Why, why are they happy in that relationship? Why does she have that successful business? How come they get to travel? And, I wish I could do all that. We're putting ourselves into that comparison mode that really makes us feel really crappy about ourselves. And the reality is, and the truth of it is everything that you want to have out there, anybody that you want to be like, you can be like. You can go on the trips. You can have that amazing business if that's what you want to create for yourself. You can have that amazing relationship. You can have that community of friends. You can have a life full of fun, and you can create a life of security. You can have all of that. But as you're marching to your old story and your, what you have now created as your status quo, what about that life are you willing to change? And that really is the question. What are you willing to change? And what are you willing to step into the unknown for, so that you can start having those things that you want in your life? And those are some pretty difficult decisions that you have to make. And my mentor says, you can never measure what you'll lose. No, that's wrong. You can measure what you'll lose, but you can't see what you gain. And sometimes making big changes in our lives creates a lot of chaos, and it's really, really scary. And we're stepping into this unknown, and I say that on the other side of chaos is calm. And so sometimes we just need to take that leap of faith and make a change, and just start, right? Because our purpose in life is to grow and expand and have really great experiences. So my challenge for you today and every day is to look at the parts of your life that you have been less than satisfied with, and what do you need to change about it? What story do you need to let go of? What help do you need to get to help you with that change? Because change is hard. Nobody likes change, right? It's way too scary, but change is necessary. So what story are you willing to let go of, and what are you willing to do differently in that in any area of your life? So I would love to hear your comments, questions for me. How can I help you create something different for yourself? So be brave and make that first step, whatever it is. And as always, leave your comments below. Bye.